Welcome everyone! Today I'll walk you through a detailed recipe for making cornbread from scratch, along with essential tips to ensure your cornbread turns out perfectly every time. From selecting the right ingredients to mastering baking techniques, you'll learn everything you need to know to create homemade cornbread that's sure to impress family and friends alike. So let's roll up our sleeves, preheat the oven, and embark on cooking this cornbread. Now, let's dive into each ingredient and its role in making delicious cornbread. Cornmeal. This is the star ingredient of cornbread. It's made by grinding dried corn kernels into a coarse or fine powder. It gives cornbread its signature texture and flavor with a slightly sweet and nutty taste. All-purpose flour. This adds structure and helps bind the cornbread together. It gives the cornbread a lighter texture compared to using only cornmeal, making it softer and less crumbly. Sugar. Optional sugar adds sweetness to the cornbread. It's optional and can be adjusted according to your preference. Baking powder. Baking powder is a leavening agent that helps the cornbread rise and become light and fluffy. Salt. Salt enhances the flavor of the cornbread and balances out the sweetness. Milk. Milk adds moisture to the cornbread and helps create a tender crumb. Melted butter or vegetable oil. Fat is essential for adding moisture and richness to the cornbread. You can use melted butter or vegetable oil, depending on your preference. Butter adds a rich flavor, while vegetable oil produces a more neutral taste. Eggs. Eggs act as a binding agent in the cornbread, helping to hold the ingredients together and giving the bread structure. Each of these ingredients plays a crucial role in creating the perfect balance of flavor, texture, and structure in cornbread. Adjusting the quantities and experimenting with different variations can help you customize the recipe to suit your preferences. The first step is to preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit 200 degrees Celsius. This ensures that your oven reaches the right temperature before you start baking the cornbread. Preheating is important for even cooking and proper rising of the bread. While the oven is preheating, grease a 9-inch square baking pan or a cast iron skillet. Greasing the pan prevents the cornbread from sticking and makes it easier to remove after baking. You can use butter, oil, or cooking spray to grease the pan. Next, you'll mix the dry ingredients. Grab a large mixing bowl and add the cornmeal, all-purpose flour, sugar, if using, baking powder, and salt. Whisk them together until they're well combined. This step ensures that all the dry ingredients are evenly distributed throughout the batter, resulting in a consistent texture and flavor in the finished cornbread. Whisking also helps aerate the dry ingredients, which contributes to a lighter and fluffier cornbread. Make sure there are no lumps and that everything is thoroughly incorporated before moving on to the next step. Now let's move on to preparing the wet ingredients. Grab another bowl and crack the eggs into it. Lightly beat the eggs with a whisk or fork until they're well combined. Then, pour in the milk and the melted butter or oil. Mix everything together until it's well combined. The melted butter or oil adds moisture and richness to the cornbread, while the eggs help bind everything together. Mixing the wet ingredients thoroughly ensures that they're evenly distributed throughout the batter, resulting in a delicious and consistent texture in the finished cornbread. Now it's time to bring everything together. Pour the wet ingredients mixture into the bowl with the dry ingredients. Using a spatula or wooden spoon, gently stir the mixture until just combined. Be careful not to overmix, as this can result in a dense and tough cornbread. The key here is to mix until there are no dry spots left, but stop as soon as everything is incorporated. Overmixing can activate the gluten in the flour, leading to a tougher texture. You want your cornbread to be tender and moist, so a light hand is crucial at this stage. Once the wet and dry ingredients are combined, you're ready to move on to baking your cornbread. Now it's time to bake your cornbread. Pour the batter into the prepared baking pan or cast iron skillet, spreading it evenly with a spatula to ensure it bakes uniformly. Smooth the top to create an even surface. Carefully place the pan in the preheated oven and bake for about 20 to 25 minutes. Keep an eye on it towards the end of the baking time. The cornbread is ready when the top is golden brown and a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean or with just a few crumbs attached. Remember that baking times can vary depending on your oven, so it's always a good idea to check for doneness a few minutes before the suggested time. Once your cornbread is beautifully golden and cooked through, remove it from the oven and allow it to cool slightly before slicing and serving. The final step is to cool and serve your freshly baked cornbread. Allow the cornbread to cool in the pan for a few minutes to set and firm up slightly. This helps make it easier to slice and prevents it from falling apart. Once it has cooled slightly, carefully slice the cornbread into squares or wedges, depending on your preference. Serve it warm with a pat of butter, a drizzle of honey, or alongside your favorite chili or soup. The warm, tender cornbread pairs perfectly with savory or sweet accompaniments, making it a versatile and delicious side dish or snack. Enjoy the comforting flavors and textures of your homemade cornbread and savor every bite. Here are some tips to ensure your cornbread turns out perfectly. Use the right cornmeal. Opt for medium grind cornmeal for the best texture. Coarse cornmeal can make the cornbread too gritty, while fine cornmeal might result in a dense texture. Do not overmix. Mix the wet and dry ingredients until just combined. Overmixing can lead to tough cornbread, so stop as soon as everything is incorporated. Preheat the pan. If using a cast iron skillet, preheat it in the oven before pouring in the batter. This helps create a crispy crust on the bottom and edges of the cornbread. Get creative with add-ins. Customize your cornbread by adding ingredients like chopped jalapenos, cheese, or cooked bacon for extra flavor and texture. Be adventurous and experiment with different combinations. Adjust sweetness. Cornbread can be savory or sweet depending on your preference. Adjust the amount of sugar in the recipe according to your taste buds. You can even omit the sugar entirely for a more savory version. Check for doneness. To ensure your cornbread is cooked through, insert a toothpick into the center. It should come out clean or with just a few crumbs clinging to it, indicating that the cornbread is done. Storage. Store leftover cornbread in an airtight container at room temperature for up to 2 days. For longer storage, freeze the cornbread and reheat it before serving to enjoy that freshly baked taste. With these tips in mind, you're all set to create delicious homemade cornbread that everyone will love.